Yeah, basically, I would like to have an introduction of yourself and Nick. So, who are you guys? Let the guys know who are you.
Nix, would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I would
You
like
can
to
go
hear some
first,
from
if you
Nick's.
mind.
No, no,
Okay.
no, Nick's, come on.
No, I'll go first. My name is Daskro. I'm playing Battlefield competitively, or with these organized matches and events, like Level BF, but also the smaller stuff for the last 10 years across almost every Battlefield game that's been around, and a lot of top teams. And my main focus has been tanking. I also do the YouTube videos and things like that, but my background really comes from trying to be as best of a player as I can in the tank and understand its roles and things like that. And hopefully, this little tank school thing that can last about an hour and a half or so today will shed some more light on things that you guys may already know and maybe some things you don't know. So, that being said, Nix, I'm bringing it to you.
Yep, I'm Nix, and I've been playing Battlefield since 1942. Only started in competitive in BF2. I played it for a few years, and I was starting BF3 as a public noob. Then I was asked to play for a Danish team called VIP, and I've been with them since. And yeah, I've been tanking only in BF3 actually. I was infantry in BF2, 1942, a bad company. So I thought I would try something new. And this is where I am today. I think I've come a long way. There's still much to learn.
Now, Nix, since you mentioned that you started in infantry and you made that transition to armor, what has been the biggest change in your mind in terms of a sort of gameplay mentality as you went from infantry to armor?
Oh, that's a lot of things, really. You gotta think a lot differently than you do as infantry. You gotta stay out of the main battle till you have some backup. As infantry, you can most likely just push in, get a good spot, and camp it. You can't do that with a tank.
One of the biggest things that I've noticed, especially as the Battlefield games have created successful sequels, is that the infantry play is sort of increased in op tempo and pace. And so in Battlefield 42, you die, you just spawn back when the spawn points, and then run, for a minute or two to the battle, and then you die again. Whereas in Battlefield 3, you're constantly in that battle. You're constantly fighting with other people. You die, you respawn in 10 seconds on your squad mates, and you're back in the battle. Whereas the armor, on the other hand, not so much. The armor, once goes down, may have anywhere from a 45-second to a minute and a half respawn, and you have to drive all the way from base to the given location. In that respect, it actually makes the tank asset a much more limited resource relative to other types of things out there. You could throw a lot of bodies at a given point. It's very easy to either regenerate them with a revive or put a health pack down, or just respawn on them. Whereas the tank, it's much more cumbersome. It's much more of a target, and it requires you to think differently about how you utilize that vehicle relative to just playing on the infantry. So, first, since we got that done, let's go do the next topic at hand. Just some real basic information about the tank. Now, Nix, can you talk a little bit about how the tank takes damage?
Yeah. Like, it's really important to position yourself when you're fighting a tank. If you shoot on my side, you shoot my side. No, let's take Levelbf. It's really bad idea to have like a 90-degree shot from the other tank. It will give you a lot of damage. So most of the time, try and have an angle to the other tank, so he can't get you like a 90-degree. If you shoot me now,
I think friendly fire may be off. So can we have one volunteer get in one of the tanks and just bring it forward? All right, we got two, so we can do it. We can do two of them at the same time. So here's what we're gonna do. So it looks like that that the tank on my left has reactive, the tank on the... Oh, they both have reactive. So what we're going to do is... Nix and I are both going to take the reactive off from these tanks. And actually, if you guys want to walk and sort of walk and be on our side where I am, where Nix and I are, so you can see this as opposed to just watching the rear. There you go. With both the reactive armors off, I'm gonna try to get a very shallow angle against... Oh, I don't want to run everyone. I'm backing up, guys. Watch out. I'm gonna get a really shallow angle on this tank. And whoever's in the tank, I want you to type out in the in-game chat how much damage I do to you when I hit you. And so here we go. We go ahead and type it out, and it should say... Waiting for a type out here. It did 24% damage. That's because it was a shallow angle. You know, Nix was talking about this idea that you could get a 90-degree shot, do a whole lot more damage. So Nix, why don't you do a 90-degree shot against the tank right next to you? And guy who's in that tank, 48%. It did twice as much damage because of the angle, even though that we were both hitting the side of the tank. This concept is good to know, not just as a tanker, but also someone who is playing the anti-tank role with an RPG. If you can get those 9-degree shots, then you can do substantially more damage. Now, one of the other aspects of this, though, is that both these tanks had reactive up, and so can you guys repair the reactive on theirs as well? There you go. Now, for those that don't know, it takes 5 seconds to repair that reactive, and the tank driver won't see his reactive come up on his little his little tank icon in the bottom center of his screen. But the people who are repairing will see that armor pop back up visually in front of them, and I can see it as the enemy that it popped back up as well. And of course, if you're in the tank and you want to just see that little icon show all the reactive, you can switch very quickly from your tank turret back to your driver's seat, and it'll pop up that way as well.
Also, another thing about reactive armor, if you jump in and out when you lost your reactive, it does not fix it. Even though it looks like it, it's not up.
Yeah, so if you just jump out of the tank and jump back in it, it's not going to miraculously come back. There's still sort of an amount of delay in it, almost like how if you jump into the tank and you pop your smoke. And so I'm going to pop my smoke right now. I jumped out of my tank. I jumped back in my tank. I'm now pushing my smoke button feverishly, as you can hear it. But wait a minute, nothing's happening. That's because it still has a manual reset, and the reset's not based on who's in it. It's based on a certain amount of duration. So, one more thing about reactive. When we are talking about reactive armor, unlike the damage that is received depending on the angle, reactive armor stops damage regardless of the angle and regardless of how much damage it is. And so, javelins, for instance, do a whole lot more damage than a tank shell does. But the reactive is still going to absorb it regardless of how much damage it is. And so, it's really important to recognize that if you're in a situation where you're battling a tank and you have an RPG shot on it, if they have reactive up, it doesn't matter. You really don't need to get a better angle of attack because your shot's going to hit that reactive regardless. Now, if you think you can get all the way around to a side of the tank that doesn't have reactive, such as the rear or the front, if the rear has its reactive gone, then have at it. But recognize that when that reactive's up, someone has to throw a shot at it regardless of what it is. And if you got a shallow angle, you might as well take it. Nix, do you have anything else to add?
Not about reactive and positioning.
Anything about damage?
There's a spreadsheet on the different amount of damage on each side. We could probably link it on TeamSpeak.
Yes.
But basically, try and stay away from a 90-degree shot, because you're going to take a lot more damage.
And we will be talking more later in the hour about tank-on-tank engagements and the importance of pivoting your tank to absorb the damage as it comes in. And but we'll be talking about a whole lot more in just a bit. But now we talked about the basics of tank damage. One other thing I want to talk about though is sort of this, and is that tank damage, unlike regular fighting, tanks take damage and they die much more slowly relative to infantry, and that's because they have a lot of hit points, and because of that, it means that your opportunity to make choices of whether to engage, whether to leave, to retreat, you have a lot more opportunity to make those decisions, a lot more off-ramps relative to being the infantry. Because with infantry battles, if you're engaged in a battle with someone, likely if they're good, they're going to be able to get their shots down and kill you, or you're going to kill them. Rarely, I mean, sometimes you'll have a situation where you're both real low, and then you have a moment of reprieve, but what's important to recognize is that tanks take damage differently, and as such, they have much more options in terms of what they can do, or where they can go, or what choices they have. So, Dizzy, do we want to talk about perks now?
Basically, I would like to know where the weakest spot of the tank is.
Okay.
What is the weakest spot of the tank? What should I never do?
You should. Nix, what do you think?
You should never back up. Like, back up onto a flag or any enemy. Because the rear is where the damage is really huge.
Yes. And even though that you have reactive armor on that rear, it may take the first hit, and that's great. But only back up knowing that you're going to take fire from the rear if you know that you can that there's only going to be one hit coming your way, or that you're going to be able to back up so fast that only one person is going to have the opportunity to hit you in the rear. And really that's where the whole speed and maneuverability comes in. If you can make those choices and put yourself in a position of vulnerability if you know that you're going to take some hits, but you can still make through it. You're not going to, and the rear hit is the proverbial headshot for the tanks, and because of that, it's very important to minimize them from hitting it, and that requires situational awareness and always having your front pointed sort of where the enemies are. If you're in a position where you're regularly having enemies hitting from behind you, then perhaps you need to back up a bit. Perhaps you need to play a little bit more defensive, because the lines of demarcation of where the battles are going are you're well beyond them, and you need to back up. So let's see.
There seems to be some confusion about the rear hit, how much damage it does. So let's just check it out.
All right, so
you on full HP now, tank?
I hope he is. He's 100%.
All right.
So how much damage does that do, Lame Face? That did 74% health. Yeah, you guys can go and repair it back up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shallow shot of the same rear piece. Nix, can you destroy the reactive real quick?
I think it's already destroyed.
I see it.
I think it jumped.
I think it's back up. Give it a try again. How much damage did that do? That only did 29 damage. And that was a very shallow angle of attack, but that was a rear hit.
That was a rear hit, right?
Because, again, the angles do matter, even when getting a rear hit. And so it's very important to recognize that making sure you have a good angle. And in a tank versus tank situation, it may mean to take pause and say, just because my tank turret has reloaded doesn't mean I automatically have to fire again. Sometimes it's okay to be patient and to make sure that you can hit the shot at the best angle that affords you within the amount of time allocated. You don't want to wait to the point where the enemy tank got 2 shots on you before you take your next shot. But you have some wiggle room, and you can use that to your advantage. And we will be talking about a number of the other things about repairing coming up. So with that being said, let's move on to a really common topic that I know I get asked a lot, and I'm sure Nix gets asked a lot, which is, what's the best perk loadout? Nix, what's the best perk loadout?
For me, it's LMG, reactive armor, and smoke. That's just for a random public. But for competitor, I would go with canister, reactive, and smoke.
Why
As
do you prefer
you don't rush as
canister?
much. You don't rush as much on competitive as you do on public. So you better just sit off close to a flag and pick them off instead of rushing in and lose the tank.
So why are you preferring LMG over the HMG, Nix?
I have tried. I didn't like it. It was too slow, and the hit detection seemed way off.
So for me, with the perk loadouts, as Nick sort of implied in his answer, it's highly dependent on what kind of situation you're going to be fighting in. And so here's what. So as an example, could I get a bunch of the Russian guys to run right to all walk next to the USAA? Nigonov? Is that what his name? Nigonov? I'll move over there. All you guys run over there and run behind him. And we're gonna play a little game. Nix, what do you got for your secondary right now?
I got LMG.
Okay, I'm gonna suicide out real quick, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go HMG, and we're gonna have a little competition. I want all you guys to run all the way to B point when I say so. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, guy. Hey.
Who's that?
All right. That's not that.
What the hell?
Oh, okay. Everyone who died respawn at B and go back to the same place, and then
Hey Nico, stop that, or you get kicked from the server. Stop trolling. Stop moving the AA.
just kick him. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, you're done, so sorry for that, man.
Oh, where'd my tank go? Is it gone? Oh, there it is.
No, it should be here.
All right. So everyone's back in the...
We've got hostile infantry on the move in the AO.
Yeah, he's gone.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You gotta run. No, you gotta run. Run to Bravo, guys. I run to Bravo. Run to Bravo. And now go. All right, so I wanted to show you guys this because LMG and HMG have different advantages and disadvantages to them that are much more situational dependent on how you play. And so in this situation, the LMG was very good at engaging at the ranges where you guys started off, but sort of began to dissipate as you got closer and closer to Bravo. Whereas the heavy gun, on the other hand, was really couldn't kill that many people that fast, but could get kills at those longer distances as that distance continued to increase. Now, one of the big issues with HMG that Nick's DK alluded to was the hit detection aspect of it. That's because when you hold that HMG, its bullet spread goes up. Let's everyone stop shooting right now. The bullet spread goes up, and as it goes up, you become less accurate. Now, one of the ways you can mitigate this is that you can you can tap it. And so in that case, when I was firing, I was tapping it for each shot, almost like if you're doing semi-auto only on a gun, on a rifle, as opposed to just holding it down with full auto fire. And you can get a little more accuracy out of that. But on to the perk discussion more generally, HMG is probably only good on a few very specific maps. Maps that have very long distances, but they're sort of known corridors. So a great example of that would be Daskro Peak, when you're fighting enemy infantry that are at these really long distances, and you just have to keep on throwing fire down. But HMG may also be good if you know that you are fighting in conjunction with a bunch of other infantry that are also putting fire down. And so whenever someone peeks out, it's never going to be just about you shooting them. It's going to be about a bunch of guys shooting them, and you're just trying to do that one extra damage. That's all you're trying to do. And so that's one example of sort of perk choices. But as I mentioned in this example, it's going to be dependent on how many people are with you in terms of team sizes, what kind of map there is in terms of layout, and also what kind of vehicle layout there is in terms of number of vehicles out there. Smoke is a real good thing to use, as Nick's mentioned, but if on maps such as Down Von Peak or maps that have no air assets, then maybe infrared is a much better choice as opposed to just the smoke. Those are kind of the thought process you have to go through when choosing effective versus or ineffective perk loadouts as it relates to the maps you're playing in. And I mean, there are instances where I have played Sand Crossing on 32 for 32 in organized matches where I had a dedicated crew of 7 people repairing me. And so my choices of what my perk loadout was going to be different versus if I had no support at all. Those are kind of the ideas that we have to kind of think about as we talk about perk. By and large, I agree with Nix that LMG or HMG and reactive and smoke's the best loadout. But even recently in a Nations Cup 8v8 that I played in on Karg Island, 8v8, there were some tankers who were not doing bad who were running proximity instead of reactive. And they were doing it because they knew that most of the people that were going to be in plane were going to be in vehicles. They're going to be in the jets or going to be in the helicopters, or if they're going to be infantry, they're going to be somewhere else in the other map because Karg Island with 8 people means that you mainly have 1 or 2 people at a given point, period. And if you assume you have air superiority, you may not need that extra reactive armor, and it may be better just to have that proximity so you know where that enemy is who's on that point so that you can kill him. One enemy engineer isn't going to kill you in a tank. Now, maybe there's 2 or 3, a whole other story. But that's sort of the thought process we have to go through in terms of the perk loadouts.
So, what do you think about the guided shell? Are you using it next Daskro in different situations, and when you use it, for what?
Personally, I have never used it.
Well, I've used it quite a bit, and I use it again based on what the situation is. And so when I'm playing Operation Firestorm, for instance, and I know that my teammates I'm going to have a CITV guy dedicated to me. I know there's going to be SOFLAMs in the air, and I know that there's going to be a lot of tanks on the ground. I'm going to be running guided. I'm going to be playing out in the open, out in the desert. And I'll be running smoke, and I know they'll be running smoke, but if enough of us are throwing enough javelins and enough guided shells at them, then maybe we can do something. Now, that being said, there are some leagues out there that limit the amount of javelins that you can use, and as such, that viability then goes down. And so when you're talking about what rule sets you're playing on, those also a factor in terms of what your perk choices are. Now, in a one-on-one situation, guided isn't that great, but because you can smoke out, and the smoke's always going to respawn faster than the guided shell. But if you have more people involved, especially if you have a lot of SOFLAMs up or laser locks, that double damage is fearsome. Kyle USA, can you jump out of my CATV real quick? Thank you.
We got some enemy soldiers in the AO.
So, anything else about basic information, or do we go on driving skills?
Is anyone in here who has a question directly to the basic information you got right now? Like perks and reactive armor, for example? Just let me know in the chat.
I'm watching both, but I do see someone asked about gunner perks. So gunner perks do stack with a tank. The gunner perks that stack are what? They're the proximity, they're the repair, and then the thermal camo. So the maintenance perk stacks, but if you're playing a server that doesn't have vehicle regeneration, it's not as effective. I mean, I don't think it even works for that matter. Whereas proximity is a great thing to have, because when you have proximity, it's like having a recon guy put a tugs on your tank and just being able to see all these people around it. And reactive does absorb C4, but I would also add that that thermal camo, unfortunately, isn't that good of perk generally, and I wish it was a whole lot better, but it's not. And so, if you're a gunner and you know you're going to be in the gunner turret, proximity is the way to go. I wish there was more viability in the other options, but it's not.
That is an enemy infantry unit in the area.
What?
So basically, I have a question for you guys. Do you know about C4? When you get C4 on your tank, how many C4s do they need with reactive and without reactive to destroy the tank? How many damage do you take from that? Do you know that?
Next, you want to answer this one?
The amount of damage, I don't know, but you need three pieces of C4 to kill a tank on the reactive side, or 2 without reactive.
Yes. And the thing is that if you're in a situation where that guy's gotten close enough to put a C4 on you, hopefully your turret driver, if you're a turret driver, will get out and try to engage him, or at least try to shoot him before he hits you. But the best way of dealing with that is if you can't kill that guy, then just get out of there, because remember, he's going to be slowly throwing those C4 one at a time at you. And I've had a lot of instances where I see a guy and he throws that first C4 and it sticks onto me, but I back out of there as fast as I can, and so he'll blow it, but he won't kill me because I got out of there. All right,
nobody has some questions?
I think we should keep on moving on. We're 30 minutes in. We still got a lot to cover.
Yeah, okay, let's go over to the next point, which is driving skills. So, yeah, Nix, how do you improve your driving skills, or what are you looking for exactly when you're driving for the feeling, you know? When you hide behind buildings or stuff like that, what do you mention that guys should look for?
I'm mainly looking out for mines and infantries in third person. Make sure nobody sneaks around, and if they do, I make sure either my gunner sees it or I back up so he can't get around me. I almost always drive in third person to make sure nobody sneaks up behind me to take me out with C4 or an EUD bot.
That's where Nix and I diverge quite a bit, is that Nix is mostly a third-person driver, whereas I am mostly a first-person driver that uses third-person for sort of very quick situational awareness and then moving back to my first-person mode. And while you can actually see a whole lot more, from an FOV perspective with third-person versus first, I guess this is just more personal preference. And we will actually talk a little bit about aiming later, about how Nix is able to engage these people with third person with such ease. And I'm actually very interested in this as well, because I don't do that often, and so I'm interested in hearing his thoughts on it. But let's talk a little bit about the driving skills. First and foremost, driving the tank can be difficult because of how big it is. And you may think, oh, I can get through certain things, or I can get through certain corners, but you end up not. And getting a feel for that, it really requires just putting a lot of time in moving around the maps and trying to make good turns and trying to make good maneuvers. It's not so much different than playing a racing game in that respect. But I want to show you guys, if you'll look at me right now, the tank has basically 3 main speeds. It has a regular speed that I'm going at right now. It has a slow speed, which is basically me pushing forward, and spacebar, which is a speed brake. And then I finally have turbo, and turbo makes me go fast. And as I rammed into that tree, the trees will slow you down a bit, or at least bug you a bit, and that's something that has to be sort of considered when you're maneuvering around. And remember, those trees can absorb damage, and so you can actually use those to your advantage in that respect. When you turbo, though, this is where a lot of people sort of over turbo, and when they over turbo, they start making mistakes. They start sliding a lot more, and I've noticed the T90 slides a little bit more than the Abrams in this respect. But I will tell you though that you can still control it. Think of it this way: like when you're driving your car and you're driving at 10, 15 miles per hour, you can take more shallow or more extreme movements in the steering wheel, and you'll move back and forth, but you really don't go out of control at any point because you're going so slow. But as you speed up, think of it as every small movement that you make to that steering wheel is going to have profound impacts to how the tank is, or how your vehicle rather is moving, and how much of an effort it is. My general rule of thumb is that if I'm gonna spend, let's just say, a second worth of time pushing the left or right movement buttons to move to a certain place with my tank, if I'm turboing, I'll do maybe half that at best. I'm actually, a lot of times when I'm turboing, I'm just tapping it back and forth just to make sort of micro movements, just so that I can get in that right position. And I'm doing it in the anticipation of seeing where I want to go. Like movement, you have a certain path that you have in your mind of where you want to go, and you want to be able to position yourself so that when you do go in certain areas, that you can sort of go as fast as you can through it to sort of maximize the amount of speed you have to minimize the amount of time. With the T90, you're gonna drift a whole lot more because of just how it's set up. The Abrams does it as well, but ways that you can mitigate that is either by simply stop moving in the direction that you're trying to move in, and so if you're going to the left and you start drifting away to the left and sliding, stop pushing that left button. Likewise, you can hit that. You can stop going forward and hit that rear and try to mitigate that way, or you can just hit that space bar to get what's it called? I'm blanking what it's called. Help me out here, guys. To get the power brake. That's what it's called. Help me out, guys. What's it called? It's speed brake. Thank you. Yes, a space bar. That's right. We do that. And really, this kind of feel is going to be up to you trying to figure it out. There's in terms of just going around maps and trying to go at full speed and try to control as fast as you can while you're going. And as you do that, add more obstacles to the challenge in terms of going to areas that are much closer and more tight-knit and things like that, because once you know to be able to make good turns without hitting anything, you can then really start to be able to very quickly maneuver to areas that need your help. It's something that really makes the tank incredibly powerful, is that from a speed perspective, it can go super fast, super quickly. It goes so much faster than a lot of previous tanks in Battlefield. Like in Battlefront 42, for instance, the Sherman tank would take a long time to get started. But once you got started, it's going pretty fast. With these Abrams, they accelerate incredibly quickly. And one of the other things that you can do with a tank, and this will be really important in the coming discussions, is you can actually turn independent of pushing the forward or back button. And so that's really important to recognize as well, is that you can pivot without actually having to move the tank around. So, Nix, anything else to add to that?
No, I think we'll get to it in one-on-one tank battles.
Okay.
So what do you guys think about driving backwards? Is it, do you have to practice it a lot, or is it not that important because you're always moving forward with the tank?
There are certain maps where driving backwards is a lot more important than others, so maps like Grand Bazaar or Seine Crossing, to a lesser extent Downbound Peak, but these are very linear maps where they may be able to get around you at some point, but my biggest challenge that I've personally had experienced is the idea of being able to turbo backwards in the rear while turning at the same time. So basically doing a reverse turboed 90-degree turn, and doing it all while trying to aim and kill a guy at the same time, and not hit anything. That's really difficult. Is that what it's called? Is it called T-turning? I actually don't know a word for it. Okay, T-turn. I didn't know that's what it was called. I mean, I sort of view it as sort of like, what was that movie? The Transporter-esque sort of driving, or Fast and Furious kind of stuff. It's really, really absurd, but that's what you have to do. But that's my biggest issue with going reverse.
So, do you guys have any questions about the driving skills? Do you need some information to improve yourself? I would like to ask you guys if you have special, trainings or drills which you use to get to improve your own skills. Nix, Daskro. Have you
I
ever
would
done
say-
any practice for that, or you're just playing and get the feeling for the tank?
Yeah, you can't really teach someone how to aim with a tank. That's a feeling you get
We'll talk about the aiming portion
over
in a
higher
bit.
distances.
Yeah, we go for the aiming later. I mean, for the driving skills. So you had a day, for example, Nix, that you drive only backwards the whole day long, or do you prefer any maps where you drive through any buildings or roads which are pretty small, for example, on sand crossing, and train your movement to get the feeling?
No, I just learn it when I play. Sand Crossing would be a good map actually to learn how to maneuver really fast.
What I've done in the past, I haven't done it recently, but what I've done in the past when learning new maps, or even if I know I'm going to be playing a certain map in the future and I want to really make sure I feel about it, is that I'll just do laps around them. I'll do laps around Sand Crossing, I'll do laps around this map, and I'm just trying to go as fast as I can while not drifting out and not hitting things. Because when you hit things in a battle, you're basically stopping yourself for a second to reposition, and that's really important to be able to not do. Any other questions on the driving stuff before we move on?
Oh, we have one guy. I think he missed the first part. He had a question about the heavy and the small MG. We should skip that. I will give you the information after that. It's Serados. I will write it to you because we head over to the point already.
Sudden Death had a question though about going over rocks. He says, how do you avoid skipping when going over rocks? Sometimes a tank would skid out of control when going over a small rock. I've experienced this. Nix, have you ever experienced this?
Yes, a lot.
How do you deal with it?
It's basically I just stop the tank and wait for it to be over, and then move again. Just spazzes out. It's not really anything you can do about it.
For me, I'll either stop if I know I'm going to have to go over those rocks, and just to make sure it spaz out. But if I know I have to go over those rocks and I know that I'm not going to be in a situation where I'm going to take damage or I'm going to have to kill someone with my tank turret, I'll just turbo over it. I'll go as fast as I can over it just so I don't have to worry about it. But again, it's situational dependent. Explicit Exerion had a good question, and something we haven't talked about, but we can talk about it now because it goes into the basic information. He asks, what about the height differences between T90 and M1 Abrams? How do you deal with that? So the fact of the matter is the M1 Abrams is higher than the T90 in terms of the height, and so what you can do with the M1 with the T90 is that you can position yourself over certain fence lines and walls where you can essentially glitch spot it and get shots over it and hit the M1 Abrams. And if the M1 Abrams is in that situation, you'd actually very easily see them and be able to hit them very easily because their little turret gun would be sticking up way above the wall line. And so you can get those extra hits on it. Remember, hitting the turret still does damage to that tank, and so opportunity to do more damage is always a good thing. We can actually show this right now. Why don't let's have? Is there a wall near here? Let's have the T90 and the M1 Abrams both go towards Bravo and get parallel to that blue fence. Don't kill the fence. Don't kill the fence. But just get right behind it, and I want to show you guys that the T90 is going to be slightly lower, especially if you look at it from across this little stream, not next to it, but like get some distance back. And so you can see maybe that as you zoom in closer, that T90 is just a bit lower than that M1 Abrams. Easier to see. That's what he's referring to. Now, granted, in a fence line situation, that fence, anyone can destroy it, and so it doesn't do anything. But if it's a concrete wall, that's where it gets really powerful. And so as an M1 Abrams driver, you need to be cognizant of the fact that you still may be exposed when you're behind that wall.
The objective has been
We want to talk about tank sex too, next?
About what, sorry?
About tank ramming.
Oh. No.
Yeah, you could mention it. What is tank ramming, and why is it useful for driving in tanks?
All right, so if you look at the two tanks right now, look what the Abrams did. The Abrams is flipping the T90 over. If the T90 and the M1 Abrams push each other at the same time, like usually the T90 will go on top. Now, why is this important? When this happens, the T90 cannot easily hit the M1 Abrams, yet the M1 Abrams can very easily hit the T90. Now, it's very much like sort of balancing plates on a stick kind of thing. It only lasts for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, but that may be just enough. That may be just enough time to get 1 extra shot, 2 extra shots in, and that's where it becomes even more important. And so it's really good to know that if you're in this close of combat, and you guys don't have engineers who are going to be fighting, because remember, the engineers can get out, use their engineer tool against the enemy, and does a lot of damage. But if you can flip them, that may give you the advantage. And those little things just take. I mean, you got to sort of play around with it. But that's sort of a neat tip that I, for one, didn't fully appreciate, and probably did about 6 months into the game. And if you're in the T90 situation like that, the easiest way to get out of it is to back up if you can, so that at least you can basically get speed parity with the M1 Abrams, so you can get some front shots on them. Or if you can't back up, accelerate forward to the left or forward to the right, so you can veer off. And so, but recognize that if you veer off forward to the left, you need to have your turret pointed to the right, because you're going to see that M1 Abrams on your right real fast, and you want to be able to get that shot as fast as you can.
Oh, there was someone who mentioned a question to that situation, and he asked if there's any extra damage on the tank when you hit him below, like in Battlefield 2. So when you ram with the Abrams and the T90 is going up onto the Abrams, if he gets more damage out of it.
But we can show the rear bug with full speed.
We can show that too. All right, so let's have both the tanks get some distance on each other. And do we have and then the tank that's the U.S. tank? All right, everyone, sort of look at the tanks. So the U.S. tank charge the Russian tank with turbo, and then the T90 tank hit that M1 Abrams in the front as it's going turbo towards you. So go ahead and fire. So that did maybe 70, 80 damage. He's clearly on fire. He's clearly disabled, and that's because of the rear damage. It's not a bug. It's not a glitch, because the dice developers themselves have said they don't believe it to be as such. It's this idea that if you're turboing, it'll do rear damage to you if you get hit in the front while you're turboed, and it doesn't do rear damage in the sense of like it's just doing front damage at twice as much damage. It's actually hitting you in the rear, and so if you have rear reactive armor, your rear reactive armor will actually go away if that scenario takes place. Now, how do you mitigate that? Stop going turbo. That's how you do it. It's true for both tanks.
So nobody has any questions left to the driving thingies?
We kind of veered off into aiming, but that's okay.
Yeah, then I would say we go over to the aim. So what are you guys doing to improve your aim, and what are the basics you should know to aim with the tank, with the secondary weapon and the main shell of a tank?
Nix, you can go first.
With the main shell, I used to drive around, shoot trees, just for practice. Like drive around full speed, hit trees.
Nix, why don't you go ahead and you want to demonstrate that, or do you want me to?
Sure, I can do it.
Everyone,
Shoot trees over here
everyone watching
towards
Nix.
US base.
Nix is moving to the US base right now.
Should probably hit them. But basically, just full speed, try and hit them.
And if that's too hard for you, start off with just being still and being right next to them and getting a hit on them. And trying, and I mean, it even like where the other, where the non-US, or the tank that's US side but not Nix, if you just want to get next to these trees and just try to hit them one at a time and just try to snap fire to them, give that a try. And once you feel confident that 9 out of 10 times that you can do it, because remember, you don't want to keep on practicing until you get it right. You want to keep on practicing until you get it wrong. See, the idea that you want to keep on doing it over and over again so you can really build the feel for it. So you don't have to think about it when you have to do it under situations of duress. And after you get that, you can do what Nix is doing, where he's maybe slowly driving and hitting the trees at medium or small or at longer distances. And then you can take it up a notch and go turbo. And then you can do it while going over hills and rocks and things like that. You can build up this proficiency. And you could even do it while you're pubbing. You can pub in Caspian Border, and while you're spending the 30 seconds to go from RU to one of the points, just shoot some shots. On that note, Nix, do you want to talk about shooting guys out of the air?
Yeah, Nix, how you deal with it? I mean, I think everyone knows you from sniping the helicopters. How do you practice that?
It's a feeling, really. Once you learn the bullet speed and the drop, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know the exact drop, but the bullet speed is 200 meters per second. So if I shoot to Alpha, it should take 1.5 seconds to reach the flag.
That was about 1.5 seconds. And like the tree exercise, you can practice shooting guys with the air down, and that while you're driving, if you see a guy in the air, it's in your radius, and give it a shot. The way that I sort of liken it to, and this is more of an American reference, but it's, if you think about American football, when the quarterback throws that football, he's throwing that football, but he's throwing it at a player who's moving, right? And now, granted, that player's moving only on a in 2 dimensions, and in terms of distance and then the angle, but that football player, that quarterback, still knows that there's going to be a certain time of flight associated with that ball, and so when he throws that football, he's not going to throw it at where the guy is right now. He's going to throw it where he predicts it to be, in that given second or two that ball's going to be flying and that guy's going to be running around. Sort of apply that same concept when I do my tank shots against vehicles that are flying in the air or even just driving around. Because once you get a feel for where they are and their distance, and you're not actually looking and say, okay, they're 300 meters out, I need to fire here or there. Like Nick said, it's very much gut feel. But you just keep on practicing and keep on trying, and eventually you'll start hitting it. And you'll find that you'll find it really easy to hit a lot of the guys that are flying planes or doing really easy ground pounding with the jets, where you can just easily throw shots at them and kill them.
Yeah, so you should shoot where you think they're going, not where they are.
And that kind of thing is very much, you have to sort of get a feel for it, because you may not fully appreciate what that helicopter can do in terms of maneuverability. And you may say, oh, well, clearly he's going this way, and then they'll be able to arc and do a 9-degree turn super fast, and you'll say, oh, shit, I completely misunderstood where he's going.
Nix, for example. I know you have a lot of repair guys when you're driving.
I usually have a few repair guys on TeamSpeak with me, and we share information where people are, etc. And it makes it a lot easier. But if I'm driving with a random public guy, I tend to not get into stupid situations, because he's usually just gonna either bail out or jump out in front of me and then try to repair. And he's probably gonna get shot in the face when he's doing it.
What's a stupid situation for you? Just give me an example. That would be nice. Say, hey, could you stop shooting, please? Thank you.
If I'm without a guy on TeamSpeak rushing into Bravo, knowing there's 3 or 4 guys, and if he's doesn't have proximity, it's pretty much suicide. Because I know that gun is not gonna look behind me. He's gonna look where I'm looking. So they're pretty much gonna sneak up behind me and take me out sooner or later.
How do you deal with it, Daskro? Do you have another opinion to that? Do you care about your ranches, or do you position yourself in another way for your ranches, or let me say, do you protect them?
So my stance on repair guys is a lot of people like to sort of make light of the tank crew, in that there's some kind of utility person that really isn't much value added, or even that you're supposed to be a bad player and only the bad players do tank crew stuff, where I sort of view it just the opposite, and here's why. Because the tank can survive longer engagements, because they don't die within a millisecond or a few seconds of being in the fight. It affords a whole nother series of tactics that are further enabled by the tank crew. So let me give you a few examples. I'm in one of the tanks right now. I'm in the CIT position. If I'm engaging this AA gun in front of me, this US AA gun, I can turn around and look the opposite direction of what that AA gun is, and allows me to then get out of the rear of the tank. That's really important to remember, guys, is that if you are in the tank, and this would be if you're in the tank turret, or if you're in the either driving the tank or in the CITV, you look to the direction that you want to get out of, which in this case would be the opposite of where the enemy is, and then you get out. As a tank crew, when you can get out, you got choices. What's your choices, guys? You can get out your repair tool, you can repair the tank, and that repairing's gonna give him so much repair per second. I don't know what it is now, but it used to be a whole lot more in previous patches. So that's one option. You can get out your RPG, and you can peek and get an RPG shot on the guy, and hopefully I missed him, but hey guys, let's not do that. You can hopefully get that shot, and then you can get back and start repairing. Or you can reload, but reloading takes a long time with the RPG. Or what are the other options? Well, if we're close enough, if I get out and I'm almost touching that AA, I can get out and just start repair tooling him, and he may not be able to engage me and the tank at the same time, and I may die as my tank shoots the AA gun. But that's okay, because I'm still doing a lot more damage to it. Or there's another option. What if we're not engaging that enemy anti-aircraft gun? What if there's other anti-tank guys that are around? I can get out my primary gun and start flanking around. I can flank around. Now, granted, we don't have any concealment or cover in this little area, but you can flank around and start to take out the enemy repair guys that are on the enemy vehicle, or just other guys more generally. And then, as an added bonus, you can get out your RPG and get a nice 9-degree shot on it. That's really important to sort of recognize, is that as a repair guy, you have plenty of tactical options to be successful. And those options are going to be highly dependent on I mean, is the fight fair or not? Does the other tank have a lot more guys than we do, or they have they have air superiority? Do you have a lot more people on your team and that crew repairing? Because remember that once you go beyond sort of 3 repair guys on a given tank, there's a lot of diminishing returns. And also recognize that those repair guys will probably die within about 5-6 seconds or so of getting out and repairing, because the enemy tank is going to try as hard as they can to take out those repair guys. And I want to give an example of this. So, can I have one of the tanks, please? One of the tanks?
Take mine, Daskro.
Okay. Where's this tank? Here we go. And so, I want a few of you guys to get next to this Abrams that the RU guys have. And I want you guys to start repairing it from the rear. So just pretend you're repairing it. Just get out your repair tool and start repairing it. Now, watch what happens. So I'm engaging this tank, right? I'm going to engage him from the front. I shot him, but guess what? By the time that I reload, he's already at 100% again, right? So what happens is that I may want to do something like this, where I fire a little bit below, and I missed that time. I'm going to try again. I'm missing again. Let me try one more time. I miss again, but I'm not doing this right, so maybe Nix can do it instead. But under certain situations, if you have the appropriate angle, you can actually fire and hit the ground below that tank and hit their rear repair guys. I'm missing, unfortunately. But
if the tank can move a little forward to around here.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Why don't I have the RU tank just move up about 15 feet or so?
Move up to here.
There you go. And now give it, yeah, there you go. And so, and this is really a contingent on angles, but now I should be able to get a better angle, and so here. And so I maybe got a hit on it, maybe?
Taking damage.
And so there I got a kill on the repair guys. That's another way of doing it. Now I'm not hurting that tank when I'm doing that, but here's the thing, guys. I'm not hurting that tank anyway when I'm hitting it, because there's so many repair guys repairing it. So I got to think about that. Now, granted, I can also get up my machine gun, and if anyone's on his sides, I can start hitting them out on the side. Let's not kill the tank, guys. I can start hitting the sides and start shooting my LMG or HMG on those sides, which is really important for those guys on the back to sort of be in the rear. But here's the problem: as that tank starts reversing, he's going to run over all you guys, and I don't want you to actually reverse right now, but the tank could reverse very quickly, and the repair guys may get caught on their tracks and get run over. Which is why angling is so important when you're sort of engaged in these battles. Nix, do you want to talk about angling and why it's important and things like that?
Didn't we went over that at
Well, angling as it relates to
people.
Repair guys as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
When somebody's repairing you, it's really important to make an angle to defend them. Like if I'm standing here, oh, Daskro's there.
Yeah.
If I'm standing on this side, Daskro can easily hit me.
I can.
So if I'm standing like parallel for him, there's no way he's gonna hit me.
And
even if he's hitting underneath the tank.
And that tank he's repairing can back up and not have to worry about hitting Nix, because he's not behind the tank, he's at the angle of the tank. Now, one may say, well, wait a minute. If you have your tank like that, then it means your sides are a bit exposed. But here's the thing. If you keep a shallow angle pointed towards the enemy, even if he hits the sides, it's not going to do that much damage because it's a shallow angle. And plus, you got reactive there. That's kind of cool. That'll take some hits as well. So don't think of that as I want my front of my tank towards the enemy. My front isn't just my front area. It's actually my front and the shallow angle of my sides. If you think about it in that context, it makes it a whole lot easier to position the tank so that you can have those good angles and still have escape routes available to get out of there if you need a retreat. because you can escape forward or you can escape backwards, but you don't want to escape and also run over all your teammates at the same time. It's always good to communicate, what you're doing as well if you're on voice comms with them. And so what I'll tend to do is that I will tend to sort of slowly back up. So I'll push that speed brake and back up, and then I'll say over voice comms, I'm backing up, get in, or I'm backing up, get out of the way. And by the time I say that, it probably takes 100 to 200 milliseconds for them to hear it and decipher it. Then I'll start backing up at full force, and I won't run over anyone.
So I have a question. How should you react, you and your tank crew, to an attack of a helicopter or a jet?
Let's get it. Do we have anyone who is good in helicopters? There. So I want collision TN, just collision, to get in the the U.S. helicopter or whatever helicopter, RU helicopter, and I want Nix to get in a tank, and I want you to fly over him like you were going to do a strafing run on him, but I don't want you to actually shoot him.
Can I have your tanks, Aaron?
Jump out of the tank, guys. Let Nix have a tank.
Thank you.
Just back off a little bit and go away from Nick's tank.
Everyone get away from Nick's tank. Let him have some room, because what you're going to see is how Nix maneuvers to avoid the tank, or at least to mitigate or minimize the amount of damage that he does. And so here comes the tank here comes the aircraft from RU. So where's Nick's tank? I don't even see it.
I'm up here towards you as
the hill in the middle of us.
Get
behind you, Daskro.
All right. So collision. Get some altitude and get some speed. So don't pretend like you're don't fly like you're just goofing around. Play like you were serious.
Oh, fly higher.
Yeah. I mean, like you were playing for serious. So try to pretend to do it.
Take me out.
Yeah. Pretend to do a strafing run on them. Get a little bit more angle there, or a little more altitude there too, because usually a little bit higher than that. Alright, now go for it. So as he's going, what does Nix do? What did Nix do there? Nix went forward towards the helicopter. When Nix goes forward towards the helicopter, he is minimizing the distance between him and the helicopter. It forces the helicopter to get a much steeper angle of attack if he wants to keep his crosshairs on Nix. What does that mean? It means that it reduces the amount of time he can do that, because if he puts his nose down too long, he's going to crash. And he may put it down for a little bit, but then what he's going to do is he's going to jerk up. He's going to jerk up to try to get altitude again, and when he does, that gives Nix a great opportunity to shoot him while he's lost a lot of his speed and momentum. So go ahead and try it again, collision. Oh. All right, collision went down. So can we have?
He said it hard to. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Was it one of the CG guys that said he could fly?
I can do it if you want.
Hey guys, back off tanks a little bit, except Nix, and stop moving. Thank you.
Yeah, let's have Raj, Avi. Let's have you go.
Rajavi.
Rajavi.
All right. Should I switch team?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, stop moving to AA2.
Yep. Everyone jump out. We just gotta. The helicopter's gonna come in again. Everyone watch Nix and watch that helicopter as it comes on in. This particular angle is a bit difficult in this map because the sun's in Nix's eyes, but even then, if you got 3 spotting on, you can 3 spot it, or you can at least see it coming. Now, I like using HMG on some of these maps because you can actually do some long distance shooting on the enemy helicopter. But those are sort of those are sort of very rare shots. Here comes the helicopter.
Hostile helicopter in your AO. Over.
You can try to do a strafing run on him. You can actually, Nix, are you okay with a real deal strafing run?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you do a real deal strafing run on him.
Where is he?
Nix is the all right. Nix is the one
On the tank.
one tank way far away, closest to the U.S. base.
That one?
Yes.
Alright.
Get a little bit of speed on you. All right, you can start engaging them.
Should I shoot or what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
sure. I could just check you out. When this.
And so, what it forces that helicopter to do is that helicopter now, every time he does a successful turn, because or a successive turn, he's losing altitude or he just has to wait and get back speed again. And while he does turns like that, it allows Nix or anyone to get a much easier shot on him because he's much closer to the ground. And you can do what Nix did with a combination of smoke, because you can pop that smoke. When you pop that smoke, you can obfuscate his vision for a little bit. Now with 3D spotting, it not as much, but the point is that jets and helos have certain trajectories that they are going to when they do a given run. And when they do that given run, you can use that to your advantage and position yourself by either moving forward into them or to the side, or popping your smoke, so that you can minimize the amount of damage they do. No one strafing run with just rockets or just the rocket pods on an aircraft is going to kill you if you're moving around. So, anything else about aim or about repair stuff?
I mean, we mixed it up with the combat already, so...
Oh yeah, we did.
I would like to have some tank battles, I think some 3v3, so the tank has a crew, and let's say Daskro has the first battle and show us how it's working, and then we have some volunteers if the members in here have questions. So if you have any question, feel free to ask, because we are going to the battle part, to the practice. Write it down in TeamSpeak or in TeamSpeak or in the game.
All right, so what we'll do is we can do a few...
I would say Nix has 2 members in the squad, so anyone from US can join Nix's tank as an engineer, and Daskro should join Russian tank.
Hey, I think Sudden Death has a question. But he's muted. Everybody's muted.
Sudden Death? Wait, I can unmute you. I missed your question in the chat, sorry for that. You have talk power now, you can ask.
Sudden Death, what's your question?
You can talk in TeamSpeak, Sudden Death, you're unmuted. You can talk. Oh, he's writing it down.
He asked, does having more repair guys speed up the repair itself? Is there a cap on how many can repair a tank until it becomes insta-repaired? So there is no cap. The only limitation is the health of the tank itself. And so if you have 5 guys on it, they can repair it from 20% to 100% very quickly. And we can actually test that right now. So let's have, I'm going to switch team, but let's have one guy get in the tank and a bunch of guys behind him to repair tools. Let's just say 6 guys. So let's everyone get up to Nick's tank. Where's Nick's tank? Is he?
Nix is in the middle.
Is it?
Like,
all right, let's
the
have
tank
let's
shooting right
have 6 of the people that are on Nix's team get behind his tank. Get behind his tank, and then let's have 2 of the tanks on the RU side start hitting them on the front. Just start hitting them, and then you guys start repairing them. Start repairing them. It's not doing anything. Now I'm gonna spice it up. I'm gonna shoot him too, and just keep on shooting him. And as you can see, guys, he's. I mean, look at all the people. Oh, now stop. Now everyone stop. Everyone stop. You see, you're killing his repair guys, but the point is that even though he got disabled, he still stayed up. You know, all this damage going after him. So let's do it one more time. All the repair guys get ready. I only see 3 repair guys. Let's get more repair guys. More repair guys. Come on,
They're
repair.
like 3 right now.
All right.
Yeah, 3. Only 3.
All right, guys in RU, start firing, but don't kill the repair guys. 3, 2, 1, go.
Objective secured.
Oh, that's too much. Too much damage. And that actually illustrates a really good point, is that even though you have all those repair guys on them, every time you take damage, it's an instant hit. And so if there's 120 damage worth of stuff hitting you, even if you got 5 repair guys, it's not going to be enough to mitigate it. But if you can position yourself so that all the damage is hitting you on the front, and that you can sort of time out when those hits are coming in, it buys you more time, buys your repair guys more time.
Hey Daskro, you got another question down here. What's the max damage that a TV missile can do on a tank?
I think I don't know the answer to that specifically. What do you think, Nix?
I think it's 56% or 54.
Oh, we have a pilot in here. He said
60%, someone said.
60%. Thanks, Peter. He said he's getting 60 kill assists all the time when he hits someone with the TV missile.
Oh, I see.
think.
Well, that makes sense then. There you go. But
Yeah, so
someone made a
if you
point. The
have to
reactive
do it-
does absorb it. That's a good thing to remember. But and that's actually a good thing to talk about real quickly. The reactive armor will absorb almost everything, with the exception of. Do you guys know? There's 2 things. Type it out. What are the 2 things that it doesn't absorb? Does anyone know? AP shells is 1. Repair tool is another one. I actually wasn't going to choose that one, but it's the it's the AP shells, it's AA, and I also add in the repair tool. It can
And rocket pods.
and the rocket pods as well. I sort of put that in the same thing as the AP shells, because there's sort of these projectiles that come in volleys. But here's the thing, guys. It does in fact it will stop AT mines depending on where the AT mine hits. But that's one thing to keep in mind about reactive. And so, like on Grand Bazaar, for instance, if it's Grand Bazaar and there's not many, and it's like a small game mode like 8v8, reactive armor may not be a fantastic choice. It may, or let me rephrase that. It may not be the choice no matter what, because you may not be engaging that many. You're not going to be engaging any fire from the enemy IFV that's going to do any damage to you. You may engage a few anti-tank guys, but maybe it's more important around proximity. Something to keep in mind when thinking about this stuff. Other questions while we get this set up?
No, it looks like none.
All right. So, let me get into a tank. What tank is this?
Next, do you have a tank?
I do, yeah.
You have 3 guys in it?
SSC,
Yeah.
can you jump out, please?
Oh, Daskro, you should grab tank 2 and get 2 volunteers in it, and then we should play 1v1.
All right, 2 volunteers. I need
Get
one.
into
Wait,
Daskro
the first two that
center,
come in, get it. Okay, we got it. All right.
Okay,
Who's
so
Daskro? Is that you, Daskro?
I'm here.
I think he's
yeah.
in the middle over here, right?
I'm here on the side. Just
Okay,
want to start
guys,
fighting? You can do that.
Wait, are you the one
Everyone
going
back off
to
a
A?
little bit and let them fight and watch how it's going.
Let me back up a bit.
Yeah, back off a little bit. Okay, I can see Nix with Daskro. There you go.
All right, let's go. So
Let them enough space and
just
fight.
try to,
and,
so guys on both teams, just try to remember what we had talked about. All right, go ahead and start. Get out and start repairing. I'm low. Man, I'm
who's
down.
wait, who's the guy who's just joining it? It's Kile.
There may have been 2 tanks involved in there.
Yeah, you fight against 2 tanks. Killby, stop that, please. Let them one-on-one, please. It's just yeah, to show people how it's working. Stop RPG next. The only guys which are fighting right now.
Explicit,
is
can I
Nix and his
jump this
crew.
T90, please?
And
Thank you.
Daskro and his crew.
I need 2 guys in here to get my crew. At 1 in. I need 1 more. Anyone else? No.
Please back off everyone from Nick's tank.
Who wants to?
Away from there.
Last guy. All right. I need repairs now. Someone repair told me. Don't repair. All right. Here we go again. Take 2.
Fixing my reactor. Where you at?
I'm good to go. I'm just turning around. I'm gonna be coming from the same spot again. And guys, just oh, there's Nick's. Let me back up a bit. Just try to.
Do you have full reactor?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Just try to, guys. Just watch. How Nick and I position each other as we go forward. All right, I'm ready when you are, Nick. You are.
Yep, go for it.
Let's go.
Please no RPGs, etc. Thank you.
Just repair
Just
tools.
watch the fight.
All right, I need repairs.
Need repairs?
Oh yeah.
Hey, do not join. Okay, everyone is joining and wants to
Oh
repair
no!
right now.
Oh, everybody's
Is everyone?
repairing.
Guy,
Yeah.
only 3 will repair.
Everyone.
Oh no!
You get 1
Oh,
extra
free repairs.
Daskro.
Can I have repairs, guys? Nobody's repairing.
All right, I don't know what happened there. That got a bit
You have
strange.
you have a lot of repairs behind you, Daskro.
Yeah, I felt like I had a bit of repair superiority there. I felt like
Yeah.
that. Let's do something that involves a little bit more people. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we can get some volunteers which are doing it right now and test it
Yeah.
out.
Actually, I want to try something out with all these people here. This is an unranked server, right? Which means all the unlocks are available, right?
Yeah.
So could we get everyone to suicide, and everyone go crossbow, and we're gonna get an idea of how much damage these explosive crossbow bolts can do to these tanks as they go forward. So we're gonna have sort of a cannonball run, almost like tower defense. You guys ever played tower defense with StarCraft or Warcraft 3, and see how this is gonna work. And so suicide out, and then respawn in, and go get your bolt on. Suicide out, and then get your bolts ready. And I'm gonna be on. Who said this? Collision said, "Do I really like it when the soldiers take orders from me?" Oh, yeah, I do.
Requesting vehicle extraction.
All right, so all the guys, can we get everyone on RU to join US, and because I want to just get a lot. Actually, no, we're fine. We're fine. Don't worry about it. All right, so all the guys that are on US side right now, I want you all. I'm gonna drive real fast, and sort of parallel to you guys, and as I drive fast to you, start hitting me. But don't do it right now. Let me get around. All right, guys, you ready to get your bolts out? I should have 23 people all trying to hit me. So go ahead and shoot me with those bolts. Oh no! Come on, guys, where are the bolts? Oh, there's one. There's 2. Oh shit! Oh no! I didn't. Okay, I thought I'd be hit by a few more bolts than that. Oh, I'm going down, and I'm going down. Let's have. I need more bolts than this. I need more bolts than this. So why don't we have all the people on RU go US?
Yeah, switch teams, guys. Which are in the Russian team right now. Go over to US, spawn back in, and take your explosives bolt.
Let's have the RU guys join US, and then respawn back in.
There's a tank between all the guys over here. It's Nick's. Group up at Nick's tank, please. Oh, I can't get on your tanks. Oh, there you go.
All right, don't shoot the tanks yet, but we're going to have the one tank driver. Who's in a tank right now on the other team?
I don't see the name right now.
I don't see it.
Move
Either.
up at Nick's tank. He's the Abrams up the hill in the middle. And grab your explosive bolt on the There's one T90 in front of us. You're the driver right now. Stop driving over people.
No, don't
get
drive
into
over people.
Position.
Whoever's in the T90 tank that's closest
It's
to.
TGB SSC.
Oh yeah, okay.
Get into position. You can drive right now.
Yep, TGB. Drive about 200 meters towards Bravo. Turn around and then start driving towards the U.S. base. And everyone else, kind of get at the tip of this hill where I'm at right now, jumping up and down.
Next to Nick's tank.
No, next to me. I'm way far out.
Oh, you're there. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Go
It's okay.
over to Daskro. I missed it.
All right, TGB, start driving. Drive sort of towards the in between the U.S. base and Bravo, sort of that little area there. And
Stop
people,
shooting right now.
and start
Stop
shooting. Start shooting.
Okay.
But don't
sorry
drive towards
to
us.
that.
You're gonna get killed fast. No, you gotta get some distance. We gotta make it fun. Who's in the other T90 tank? Get in the same position that he was, and don't kill the T90 tank.
Stop shooting at the T90s right now. Stop shooting at the T90s right now, please. Some tank get in position.
Whoever's in that
Thank
that
you.
T90 way out yonder, start driving. Don't shoot him yet, guys. Contain yourselves. And start driving. But don't drive towards us. Drive, you know, out some distance. Not towards us. Not towards us. You're not. Hey, start firing, guys. Get all those bolts. It's like medieval times. The bolts are going over the air. That's great. All right. We didn't get it, guys. We didn't kill him. Let's turn it around and do it again. Same route. Don't cheat, guys. Don't go any closer to him. Shoot the helicopter too. Shoot the helicopter. That's awesome. Oh, who got it? Oh, nice one. All right, shoot the T9 tank. Oh, the bullet drop is intense on there.
Shoot the jet.
Where's the jet? Where is the jet? The
Towards the antenna.
The jet's down.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Someone with the T9 could have a big multi-kill up the hill over here.
Other T9. Actually, let's make this interesting. Let's have Nick's on US side. Nick, switch to RU, and I want you to kill all of us while we're trying to kill you from distance.
Everyone should stand in a bunch.
We all gotta stay in a bunch though. We can't. It's like formation. All right, so Nick's gonna spawn in. Don't kill the tanks yet. Let Nick spawn in, and don't kill each other. Relax, guys. We gotta stand close as we can.
Tank,
I'm actually not gonna stand as close as I can. I'm gonna record it instead.
what's in on fire?
All right.
Can I have this tank?
Yeah. Hey, whoever's in the let Nick's have a tank.
Emmy, can you get out of the Abrams, please? And who's
Lane
the other
face,
guy?
can I have that?
Thank you. Awesome. The tank is empty. Next, you can go in.
Oh, alright.
There you go.
All right. Nick's get some distance, and then start. And then when you feel good, you can start firing.
Stop shooting. Stop shooting, guys. On the air vehicles, they're recording right now. Stop shooting, please.
You guys ready?
All right, guys, get ready to engage Nick's. He's in that Abrams tank. He's coming right for you. Nick's, when you're ready to go. Right, stop firing! Stop firing! Stop firing! Oh, stop firing!
Holy shit.
Ooh, that multi-kill.
He's low! Oh, he's low! Who shot that RPG? Oh, yeah, you can go after him. That was a
He's there,
huge
he's still
multi-kill.
alive.
Come on, guys, get him. How is he still going, guys? You gotta shoot him.
Oh,
Ooh, he's
disabled.
disabled.
He's low.
There we go.
Look at all the... Oh, good stuff. That was a lot of kills, though. Wow. That you went from 14 and 4 to 30 and 5. 16 kills. A lot of kills.
So basically, I would like to come to an end because we are in for 1.5 hours, and I think most of the people want to practice their knowledge from today. So, Nix and Daskro, do you have something to add, or does anyone have a question right now? Just write it down in TeamSpeak chat or in-game chat.
My closing thoughts on this is, I want to thank you guys for coming out. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed asking your questions. Feel free to ask me any questions one-on-one if you'd like. Shoot me a message on YouTube or hit me up on Facebook or Twitter, whatever it may be. I have no problem answering questions. And then also, on the tank stuff, it takes time to learn this stuff and takes time to get better at it, and it may be challenging at times to sort of hone these skills, but give it good effort and give it good time, and I assure you, you will get better at it.
Nix, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I want to thanks everybody for coming. And I'm glad we could help.
You don't want to promote
answering
your
some
YouTube,
of your questions.
Maybe your Twitch, Twitter. I would like to say, Nix, Daskro, please post your informations where people can follow you into TeamSpeak.
Yes.
So they have an option to catch you guys. Yeah, I would like to thank you both for helping me out with that and to organize that stuff. I really appreciate that. And I hope we have some stuff soon again.
And one last thing, guys, is that if you want to be able to sort of experience this teamwork tank play that Nix and I were describing during this Tank Academy, a great way of doing it is coming to the battles here on Levelbf.com, coming to the 32 versus 32 matches, where you'll get paired up with other people who want a PTFO, who want to play the tank well, and you'll get to play against some really challenging players and certainly learn a whole lot more than just pubbing for a few hours. So you've probably already registered for the website. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's not super serious. I mean, they're not going to kick you out if you're bad or anything like that. It's all about having fun and learning how to be a better player. So I hope to see some of you guys there, if not all you guys there. Concept is good to know, not just as a tanker, but also someone who is playing the anti-tank role with an RPG. If you can get those 9-degree shots, then you can do substantially more damage. Now, one of the other aspects of this, though, is that both these tanks had reactive up, and so can you guys repair the reactive on theirs as well? There you go. Now, for those that don't know, it takes 5 seconds to repair that reactive, and the tank driver won't see his reactive come up on his little tank icon in the bottom center of your screen, but the people who are repairing will see that armor pop back up visually in front of them, and I can see it as the enemy that it popped back up as well. And of course, if you're in the tank and you want to just see that little icon show all the reactive, you can switch very quickly from your tank turret back to your driver's seat, and it'll pop up that way as well.
Also, another thing about reactive armor, if you jump in and out when you lost your reactive, it does not fix it. Even though it looks like it, it's not up.
Yeah, so if you just jump out of the tank and jump back in it, it's not going to miraculously come back. There's still sort of a matter of delay in it, almost like how if you jump into the tank and you pop your smoke. And so I'm going to pop my smoke right now. I jumped out of my tank. I jumped back in my tank. I'm now pushing my smoke button feverishly, as you can hear it. But wait a minute, nothing's happening. That's because it still has a manual reset, and the reset's not based on who's in it. It's based on a certain amount of duration. So, one more thing about reactive. When we are talking about reactive armor, unlike the damage that is received depending on the angle, reactive armor stops damage regardless of the angle and regardless of how much damage it is. And so javelins, for instance, do a whole lot more damage than a tank shell does. But the reactive is still going to absorb it regardless of how much damage it is. And so it's really important to recognize that if you're in a situation where you're battling a tank and you have an RPG shot on it, if they have reactive up, it doesn't matter. You really don't need to get a better angle of attack because your shot's going to hit that reactive regardless. Now, if you think you can get all the way around to a side of the tank that doesn't have reactive, such as the rear or the front, if the rear has its reactive gone, then have at it. But recognize that when that reactive's up, someone has to throw a shot at it regardless of what it is, and if you got a shallow angle, you might as well take it. Nix, do you have anything else to add?
Not about reactive and positioning.
Anything about damage?
There's a spreadsheet on the different amount of damage on each side. We could probably link it on TeamSpeak.
Yes.
But basically, try and stay away from a 90-degree shot because you're going to take a lot more damage.
And we will be talking more later in the hour about tank-on-tank engagements and the importance of pivoting your tank to absorb the damage as it comes in. And but we'll be talking about a whole lot more in just a bit. But now we talked about the basics of tank damage. One other thing I want to talk about, though, is sort of this, is that tank damage, unlike regular fighting, tanks take damage and they die much more slowly relative to infantry, and that's because they have a lot of hit points, and because of that, it means that your opportunity to make choices of whether to engage, whether to leave, to retreat, you have a lot more opportunity to make those decisions.
Yeah, basically, I would like to have an introduction of yourself and Nix. So, who are you guys? Let the guys know. Who are you?
Nix, would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I would like to
go
hear
first.
from Nix.
Mind?
No, Nix, come on.
No, I'll go first. My name is Daskro. I am I'm playing Battlefield competitively, or with these organized matches and events like Levelbf, but also the smaller stuff for the last 10 years across almost every Battlefield game that's been around, and a lot of top teams, and my main focus has been tanking. I also do the YouTube videos and things like that, but my background really comes from trying to be as best of a player as I can in the tank and understand its roles and things like that. Hopefully this little tank school thing that can last about an hour and a half or so today will shed some more light on things that you guys may already know, and maybe some things you don't know. So that being said, Nix, I'm bringing it to you.
Yep, I'm Nix, and I've been playing Battlefield since 1942. Only started in competitive in BF2. I played it for a few years, and I was starting BF3 as a public noob. Then I was asked to play for a Danish team called VIP, and I've been with them since. And yeah, I've been tanking only in BF3 actually. I was infantry in BF2, 1942, a bad company. So I thought I would try something new. And this is where I am today. I think I've come a long way. There's still much to learn.
Now, Nix, since you mentioned that you started in infantry and you made that transition to armor, what has been the biggest change in your mind in terms of...
Yeah. Like, it's really important to position yourself when you're fighting a tank. If you shoot on my side, you shoot my side. Oh, let's take reactive. It's really bad idea to have like a 90-degree shot from the other tank. It will give you a lot of damage. So most of the time, try and have an angle to the other tank, so he can't get you like a 90-degree. If you shoot me now,
I think friendly fire may be off. So can we have one volunteer get in one of the tanks and just bring it forward? All right, we got two, so we can do it. We can do two of them at the same time. So here's what we're gonna do. So it looks like that the tank on my left has reactive. The tank on the they both have reactive. So what we're gonna do is Nix and I are both gonna take the reactive off from these tanks. And actually, if you guys want to walk and sort of walk and be on our side where I am, where Nix and I are, so you can see this as opposed to just watching the rear. There you go. With both the reactive armors off, I'm gonna try to get a very shallow angle against. Oh, I don't want to run everyone. I'm backing up, guys. Watch out. I'm gonna get a really shallow angle on this tank, and whoever's in the tank, I want you to type out in the in-game chat how much damage I do to you when I hit you. And so here we go. We go ahead and type it out, and it should say. Waiting for a type out here. It did 24% damage. That's because it was a shallow angle. You know, Nix was talking about this idea that you could get a 90-degree shot, do a whole lot more damage. So, Nix, why don't you do a 90-degree shot against the tank right next to you? And guy who's in that tank, 48%. It did twice as much damage because of the angle, even though that we were both hitting the side of the tank. This kind of a sort of gameplay mentality as you went from infantry to armor.
Oh, that's a lot of things, really. You gotta think a lot differently than you do as infantry. You gotta stay out of the main battle till you have some backup. As infantry, you can most likely just push in, get a good spot, and camp it. You can't do that with a tank.
One of the biggest things that I've noticed, especially as the Battlefield games have created successful sequels, is that the infantry play is sort of increased in op tempo and pace. And so in Battlefield 42, you die, you just spawn back when the spawn points, and then run, for a minute or two to the battle, and then you die again. Whereas in Battlefield 3, you're constantly in that battle. You're constantly fighting with other people. You die, you respawn in 10 seconds on your squad mates, and you're back in the battle. Whereas the armor, on the other hand, not so much. The armor, once goes down, may have anywhere from a 45-second to a minute and a half respawn, and you have to drive all the way from base to the given location. In that respect, it actually makes the tank asset a much more limited resource relative to other types of things out there. You could throw a lot of bodies at a given point. It's very easy to either regenerate them with a revive, or put a health pack down, or just respawn on them. Whereas the tank, it's much more cumbersome. It's much more of a target, and requires you to think differently about how you utilize that vehicle relative to just playing on the infantry. So, first, since we got that done, let's go do the next topic at hand. Just some real basic information about the tank. Now, Nix, can you talk a little bit about how the tank takes damage?